my good friend John from Encased Comics is not feeling too well, so I'm going to be doing this solo dolo. Thank you everyone for the follow. Thank you everyone for stopping by. So we're going to be talking about horror comics, and specifically horror comics that maybe that I am a part of. So if you don't know, that was a perfect intro. Well, I kind of do podcasts and all this kind of stuff all the time, so I'm kind of used to doing nice little intros here. I am currently right now on Kickstarter. There is my first ever comic book, Here Walks Monsters. It is a zombie/infected, because it is both, comic book that is now available on Kickstarter. Pretty soon, if all goes according to plan, there's going to be communities here on Junkie. So we're going to have big horror community, big comic book community, indie comic book community, and we're going to try to do some... hey, thank you. I appreciate you, Drunken Monk. It's at 71% funded with 22 days left, so I've got, some good ground to cover, but I got some time to get there, so hopefully we can not only hit the goal, but surpass it. But eventually, we're going to have stuff like that here on Junkie, where you'll be following a community, and then, say, me, for example, in the horror community. You'll be the horror community, and then there'll be the Nerdtooine horror community. And I will let everyone know, hey, I've got my next issues coming out, and we'll be able to crowdfund it through Junkie versus other platforms. We're trying to make Junkie like the next big thing, where you only have to be here and only here to do everything you want to do. But I digress. Also, there are a few horror titles that I am currently associated with where I have exclusive covers. Both James Tynion. I'm a huge fan of James Tynion. He's, without question, one of the best writers in comic book history, but he's definitely, without question, one of the best now. And anything horror he writes, Something Is Killing the Children, wins awards. Department of Truth wins awards. You name it, he just knocks it out the park. He did a great job with the Joker. He's also now doing World Tree, which is like a sci-fi technological thriller horror story, which I have a exclusive of that too. It's a World Tree #1, Alan Qua, limited to only 333. And then I have a Dracula #1 by Mike Walsh, which is 1,000 copies, and there's $14.99 plus shipping for those. So if you want to go grab those, they're in the store right now. We can't do it on here because this is digital only, but it is in my store, so you can just go in there and grab them if you want. I'll get them shipped out as soon as possible, those Draculas. But let's talk horror comics, and I think something about horror works so well in the comic book realm is because comics, you can tell just about any type of story you want. You can tell a story about boxing, you can tell a story about high school, you can tell a story about anything, but horror in particular works so well in comics because of the art styles that you can use. Like me personally, my artist, and what we've done is we made it black and white with just red for the blood. That's what we are, and there's going to be slight discoloration for the zombies and the infected, so that they'll be able to stick out a little bit. But it's more about, and so that's one option. There are comics where they're fully colored, ones that are fully black and white. Mangas. One of my favorite writing teams, Garrett Gunn, who has done Good Boy and a whole bunch of other great books, he did a book called Postmasters, which is set in a post-apocalyptic world where the only people who go outside basically are monsters and people who deliver the post. And they did theirs 100% manga style, where it's even like the book is opens like a manga, and it's different. It's really cool, and that's the one thing about comics, is that they're so diverse, so malleable, and like I say, you can tell any story on it. But horror works so well because in one of the scariest things in even when you're watching a movie or a TV show is not knowing what's there. So in comics, you can literally do an absence of space. I have the whole Walking Dead. Oh yeah, see, to be honest, yes, the unknown, exactly, Kellov. But to speak of what Drunken Monk said, I actually stopped reading The Walking Dead and sold all of my copies, except for I have literally right over here my last two um, volumes that I haven't sold yet. I think actually maybe there's three of them because I didn't want it to influence my work. Like I stopped watching The Walking Dead too. Like I allowed myself to watch The Last of Us only because it was a different kind of zombie. Like it's the cordyceps, so it's completely different. And it's more post-apocalyptic than true zombie. So I let, and it was just so like I'm so glad I did because it's one of the greatest shows on television. Of all time. But we're not going to talk too much about any of the movies or TV shows because they are struck right now. We don't want to. I stand in solidarity with the actors. The writers have been allowed back. They've signed their deal, but the actors, they're still playing hardball. So I'm not going to talk too much more about any TV shows or movies. But in comics, it's just you can tell anything. And me, I'm telling a comic book version of a novel that I was initially writing. So my comic book is called Here Walks Monsters, and it's set in a world very similar to ours. It's not our world, but it's close. So like there's going to be a lot of similarities, and there's going to be a lot of pop culture references, that would make sense for our world as well as theirs. Like for instance, like the what catapults society's downfall in my comic book is a pandemic in 2020. It's not the same pandemic, and it reanimated anyone who died during that pandemic were reanimated shortly after. So obviously we're in 2023, almost in 2024, so that didn't happen. And then, like for instance, the president that you will see in a couple of my pages here, looks very similar to Obama, but it's not Obama. So there's a lot of similarities there to our world, but it's not our world. That's what's going to get me around all of the copyright infringement or any type of thing like that, because if I'm admitting and saying it's a fictional world, everything I say falls under fair use as almost you can't take it seriously because it's obviously not a real world. So it's really cool because I like to make sure everything is safe. I'm not trying to like write something and then someone come and sue me because I used a line from their movie. But since that's just how the copyright laws and slander laws and all those things actually work. As long as you're making a joke or it's an obviously fictional world, it's under fair use. But yeah, I really like, ever since I was a kid, I was a big fan of zombie, stuff like, Land of the Living Dead, and then, all the stuff from George Romero. And then, I really, what really made me realize how awesome zombies and just horror in general could be was Shaun of the Dead. Now, like I said, I know we weren't going to talk about struck properties, but I have Shaun of the Dead, the comedy aspect, while still having set rules of what zombies can and can't do and things like that. Like, my comic won't have as much comedy, but there's definitely comedy because in a lot of people's experiences, when you're going through a traumatic experience, whether it's violence or just a loss, a lot of people use comedy to, as a coping mechanism. So one of the main character in the book, he does that a lot because he's very unhinged, but very much in his element and enjoying the time that he has in this post-apocalyptic zombie world. And another thing that I'm really trying to do is I want to give I don't want to say role models, but characters and representation for a lot of people who are misunderstood and especially in entertainment more than anything. Like the main character is a short male, and he'll have hindrances because obviously he can't jump very high, and things like that. There's limitations because of his height, but it doesn't make that character less of a leading character. the secondary character is a let's say housewife. So infinite parallel universe, scientifically proven. Plus, the CDC has a what to do during a zombie situation on their website. Exactly, and Kellogg, that's exactly the perfect like way to look at it. It's not this world we're living in. It is a version of our world, and it's gonna. And I love that's true. The CDC legitimately does have a zombie situation survival guide on their website, because while it's not likely there will be a true zombie apocalypse, the skills and everything to survive an apocalypse will 100% be able to just transfer to anything that does happen, whether the grid goes down or terrorist attack or a world war or whatever the case may be. The same skills are parallel. So that it was more of a like hee let's do this kind of thing. I'm sure. But what I also really like about a non like mythical apocalypse or non-space aliens, because in my opinion aliens are the worst. Like, if there's ever an apocalypse, I would much rather it be one from like just a zombie or like demons or something like that, because aliens, they made it to us. Let me tell you what, aliens would not be friendly. It would be literally like War of the Worlds. We would not survive. There is absolutely nothing that can stop them from really just like, because just the sheer technology it would take to travel far enough that we don't know that they're coming. Like it's over. But a zombie apocalypse, we can survive a zombie apocalypse. We can actually rebuild from a zombie apocalypse, in my opinion. There is ways to survive it, and mine won't be any different. So in any type of apocalypse, whether it's from monsters or zombies or financial crisis or whatever the case may be, there's always, besides the elements and besides just pure survival, there's always got to be things you deal with, whether it's other human survivors or mutated survivors or whatever the case may be. In my book, I'm going to try to blur the line for what human and monsters and all of that really is. Because my theory is that for society, humanity, all it needs to devour itself is just removing the shackles of society. So in an apocalyptic setting, all of that's gone. All of that's gone, and they're able to just be what they want to be, as cruel, as monstrous. They don't have to worry about penalties. They don't have to worry about breaking laws. Nothing. They can do whatever their heart desires. And I believe that majority of humans would take that over the deep end and go absolutely monstrous. So I'm going to pose the question, when in the title it says, "Here Walks Monsters," you start to look at it and go, who is he talking about? The zombies, the infected, the humans? Why do they have HV lights on alien spacecrafts? That's it. Remove regulations and stigma. I I'm not even sure what you mean by that one. But when it comes to remove regulations and stigma. Exactly. Like, so like when most people don't have to worry about what someone will say about their actions, they would be even worse. So I want to tell that story. And I think one thing that's going to be really interesting and enjoyable for me, at least as the writer, is writing a character that people will identify with in one page and could easily on the very next page go, oh my God, as in did something horrible, or you're like, I could never go that far. And I want the reader to be invested in and question, like almost question themselves, like, hey, how did I identify with that character 2 pages ago, and now I'm grossed out by what they just did. These are the things that I am going to tell in this story. The little backstory about the whole creation of this book. It was initially a novel. I had written close to 20 chapters already for the book, and it was going great. Then my house got robbed. They stole my computer. They stole my external hard drive, and I didn't have any more than 3 chapters backed up anywhere. So for quite some time, I kind of gave up. And then I found a couple years later the 3 chapters and the Word document that had every single stop, every single item, every single character and person and place that they will be, see, stop, or use. And then I started thinking, I'm going to make this happen. I'm going to work this. And then it turned into, I don't want to write a novel anymore. I didn't have the same passion I did when I initially started. So I turned it into this comic book. And I had a really talented artist that I knew, that I really respected, Martin Desjardins Olivier. He's from Canada, and he does mostly black and white. And I always kind of envisioned my book to be black and white with shades of red and things like that, So we started working together, and I wrote my Ashcan script in almost one sitting. I did 7 pages in one sitting, and then the rest a couple days later. And then I spent the better part of the next year working with Martin to get the pages exactly right. I was very picky on purpose, probably pickier than I needed to be and should have been, because it took the process a lot longer. And then earlier this year, I had planned to go to print without Kickstarter. I was just gonna print it my damn self and be like, oh well, we'll see what happens. And then I brought it to MegaCon, and I showed it to people in the industry, people I respect, who have done their own comics, own Kickstarters, own this, own that, So I was like, let me see what they say. They all pretty much had the same response. The art is amazing, the story is good, but the lettering sucks. One guy even said the lettering is straight trash. Now, the person who did the lettering initially was my artist, who had never done lettering before in his life. So it's not a discredit to him. He wasn't a letterer. And I asked him to try to do the lettering for me. And it didn't work out. So what happened was, a few months ago, John from Encased, actually, he's writing a horror comic as well. He hooked me up with his letterer, and Tyrone Jackson. Dude is fantastic. He knocked it out the park and just put so much more life into the story. And we have what we have now. We're still doing a few more tiny little edits, to the point where, like, if the edits don't come back before the Kickstarter is done, no one will know that it's not perfect besides me. But yeah, so let's see. I'm sorry, I like what you say. I totally identify with what you're saying. I believe the universe takes things from us and gives it back when we are ready for it. The font, that's the lettering, yeah. Well, because a lot more than just the font goes into lettering. It's the spacing. It's understanding how the eye rolls through, so it flows and makes sense, and who's talking and this, and like for instance, I'm very, very picky, and the letterer, Tyrone, I've had him make specific fonts for specific characters. For instance, the female character who is named Karen, I'm trying to take that name back. While I understand Karens exist, I know so many amazing Karens that I wanted to try to give an awesome Karen character. Just so they can be like, yeah, I'm not that Karen, I'm this Karen. You know what I mean? But that's another part of what I'm trying to do with this book is things like that. Like it's gonna be hard because one of the things I want to do is have a lot of things represented and I don't want to do it just to do it. It has to fit. And there's a reason why I'm doing everything, you know. And one of the people, anyone who knows me knows, I just literally overthink, overanalyze, and dissect every piece of material I ever watch, listen to, read, or anything. So that's what I've been doing with this title for the past 10 years. There won't be loopholes. There won't, like, plot holes. People are gonna be like, I'm so confident that I'm gonna be able to not have any plot holes in my story that I'm probably going to do a contest. It's like if you tell me, if you find a plot hole and you're right, you win. So I don't know what. Maybe you win like your picture in the book. Like, I found the plot hole. Maybe you're a plot hole man or something in a future story. I don't know. But when it comes to lettering, so much goes into it. Like when I was trying to have, like, there's one panel that it is actually, I think it was two panels that were connected, and the lettering that he initially gave, I absolutely I hated it. I hated it because the panels themselves are very minimalistic on purpose. Yes, you hit that right in the head, Kelov. For real, yeah, it's a living personality of a book. But yeah, with this, I'm just really excited to finally be at this point. But yeah, like there was one panel that I did not like it at all. And then he explained why he did it. Like what it was, because I was like, hey, can you explain why you went this route? And he was like, yeah, because this. I was like, all right, I get that, but that is done and minimalistic on purpose, and I feel like it's clogging it now. We need to adjust that. And then I was like, hey, why don't we put it here or here or here? And he's like, it doesn't really work because it messes with the entire flow. And I'm like, okay. And then he came back to me with what we have in the final draft now, and I was like, I get it. Like, that flows so well. Like as a comic book reader, I'm like, yep, I get it. My eyes literally flow from image to letters to image to text bubble. I was like, yeah, I understand now. I completely see what you're saying. And you know, he's definitely a lot of credit goes to Tyrone. I almost thought it was a dead end when the lettering came back dead, because I wanted the lettering to, I was ready to print, and it wasn't ready to go out. And then I reached out to one of the letterers of like 5 different comics that I really love. And I always talk about, when I do reviews, his lettering always gave a new life, and it almost took a life of its own inside the comic, and that's what I wanted. And he's just like, he's like, man, I'm just too busy, I wouldn't be able to do it. And then I was like, man, that's it. If I'm not gonna get the letter I want, I'm done. And that's a stupid way to look at it, but that's just what happened. And then literally John was like, hey man, how's your comic coming? I'm like, it's dead on arrival, bro. Like, I'm done. Like, I can't, I don't have a letter. He's like, bro, calm down. Like, let me put you in touch with my letterer. And the rest, as they say, is history. So like I said, it's now on Kickstarter right now. It's at 72% or 71% funded. We've got about 3 weeks to get it the rest of the way and beyond, hopefully. Because if we can get it beyond the stretch goal and get it to be past the goal I need, that will guarantee how much better the full issue 1 will be. Because depending on how much over we go, I'm going to use that money to not only print and send everyone all the stuff that they ordered, from the Kickstarter, but also to pay several artists right now up front to do variant covers for issue 1. So the plan will be to have cover A, cover B, and then probably a cover C. The cover C may even be a blank, to be honest. I kind of want to do a blank and have a contest, do a cover, and if it's of a character you'd want to see in the book, and then we'll figure something out, like something along those lines, because I want to be really very interactive. Like one of my goals is to have some influencers that I've seen on like TikTok and Instagram and everything also be in the book. Like there's this one chick who throws axes like really, really, really good, and she's kind of small, and I want to see if I can get her to like get her likeness in the book, so like we can have a character, either her or one like it, so that we can like show that off, and then if they're in the book, maybe they'll do free promotion. See, it's always about trying to maximize reach without bankrupting yourself. Like if I can convince someone to get in my book, then they have a stake and want it to do well, because then they will do well. You see what I'm saying? So we'll see how that goes. That's down the ways. But one of the rewards that I had in the Kickstarter for 5 people was to actually get put into the comic, and that is sold out. So there are 5 people that just earned their spot in the Here Walks Monsters universe. You can still get your name or logo in it as well. That's still available. And I'm sure there will be more stuff in the future where we have ways to go and get in the book. But I'm just so excited for this book to be out. I've been reading it nonstop for the past month since it's been pretty much finished, and it's beautiful, guys. I'm and it's very self-serving to say that, because obviously I'm gonna think that it's my comic book. But yeah, I'm really, really excited about this. Here, you know what? Let me actually watch this. Hold on. Stand by. This is the cover. So big. That's what she said. Nah. I'm doing this in OBS with one hand, barely. There it is. There's the cover. Here Walks Monsters. Let's make it a little bit smaller. So it actually... There we go. That's better. And the cover was done by the artist Martin. It will be sent to print basically the second, if not before, actually, it gets funded. I have the 2 of the rewards, the die cut stickers and the bookmarks, which have so the bookmarks I got, they are only available through the collector's set, and they are sketch variants. So like the main character, the first ever completed like design variant, that is the front cover, the first side, and on the other side it's like sketches of the initial drawings of the character, and I'm going to sign every one of those. Those are on their way. I just got confirmation that they've been shipped, so that's great. And if we hit the 2,000, because I hit the goal that I need, we're gonna add a stretch goal. The artist is already working on an 11x17 promo print card that we're gonna include. It'll be available if we hit the goal, and so many more things that I can't wait to bring to everyone. But yeah, this is. I hope everyone's had a great Halloween. This was supposed to be a almost co-hosted interview style thing with me and John, but like I said, John was not feeling well, so I had to step up and do it on my own. But this is not going to be the guaranteed time slot for the Anvil podcast. But this podcast, what it's going to be is we're going to bring on creators, whether they're comic book writers, artists, cosplayers, musicians, actors, anyone who creates something. And we're going to bring them on this podcast. And so we're the anvil, they're the hammers, and they're going to bang all the information they get out of their all the stuff they've done to create their fandoms. Hey, Caleb, I appreciate you, those kind words. Yeah, I don't. And there's one thing with me, anyone who knows me at all knows I will rather talk myself out of a sale, and I would rather be so upfront and honest that you don't like me than trick you into liking me or buying from me. So whatever you see, it might be a little bit more animated, but this is really Nerdtooine that you're meeting here. This isn't like an act that I put on besides the normal the normal act that we put on for everybody. You know what I mean? The mask that we wear in front of everyone. But yeah, this has been. I'm really excited to be working here with Junkie. This is just one of the podcasts that we're going to be bringing on. More than likely, there'll be a whole bunch. We'll have a whole podcast section. We're working on communities. There's so many great things that we're working on here at Junkie, and I'm really excited that everyone's along for this ride. We're going to make it amazing. I'm going to make sure that we have the best comic book division there is on any of these social media platforms, because this is not just a seller collectible platform. It's a social media platform as well, and this whole thing that we have here, it's almost like a Shangri-La, but there are so many people like us that we need to bring into the fold. This Junkie is not for everyone, and that's a good thing. Junkie is for the people who want to learn, people who want to have a community, the people who actually care about the properties that they're buying and things like that. This is for the quote-unquote real fans. Quote-unquote. I say quote-unquote because real is subjective, and I hate that even using that term because it's very gatekeepery, and I don't like that. But, it's the easiest way to explain what I mean when I say that. So if you know anyone who likes or wants to be part of something great, or wants to be part of the communities that we're about to build, make sure you let them know. Junkie is definitely about to take off, and I want everyone who actually cares and who actually wants to be here to not only be here, but enjoy it. So be on the lookout for more information about the next episode of Forged in Fandom, the Anvil podcast. This will be, like I said, I won't be a solo host. There'll be a co-host with me as well as guests in the future. We will have announcements on Junkie and all other social media platforms about when the next episode's going to be. So please just be on the lookout for that. But until next time, this is Nerdtooine signing off. I hope everyone has a great rest of your Halloween. Hope everyone enjoyed the content. And I said we'll be having a more to and fro repartee, a chit for chat in the future, but I can only do so much by myself. I'm pretty good, but I'm not that good. But until next time, everyone, thanks for stopping by. This is Nerdtooine signing off. You stay nerdy, my friends.